Hi everyone, welcome to the session. Myself, Nagaraj Huga, I'm going to handle the subject machine drawing. The name of the subject is machine drawing and the subject code is 15ME34D. The subject is having totally 6 chapters. The chapter number 1 is conventional representation. The chapter 2 is threaded fasteners. The third chapter is riveted joints. Fourth chapter is limits, fits, and tolerance. Fifth chapter is production drawings. Sixth one is details to assembly. The chapter number 6 is very important from the point of examination. Okay, the remaining chapter are also important, but the chapter 6 is very important from the point of examinations. Now let us discuss about one by one chapters. The first chapter is conventional representation. Now let's know the definition of the machine drawing. The machine drawing can be defined in two definitions. Now let us discuss about one by one. Okay. The first definition is machine drawing may be defined as the representation of a machine component or a machine by lines according to certain set of rules. The meaning of this one is, my dear students, the representation of machine component or a machine by lines according to set of rules means whenever you want to draw anything, you have to follow certain set of rules. As per that, you have to follow. For example, whenever you want to drive a vehicle or a bike, you have to follow the traffic rules and regulation. In the same manner, here also you have to maintain certain set of rules. This is one definition. The another definition is it says the machine drawing generally gives all the information. What are the information? Whenever you see the object, okay, externally you are able to see the only the parts. Okay, that's why a machine drawing generally gives us all the external, internal details of the machine components which can be manufactured. Okay, you will get all the information about internal and the external details of the machine component. Okay, why? Because whenever you see the component, we are able to see only the outer structure of the uh, object or a component, but we cannot see them. Okay, each and everything can be studied in this subject. Okay, here below there is a figure, you can observe that one. Okay, this is one machine component sketch. Here you are going to see the two views. One is the front view, other one is the side view. One is the front view, other one is the side view. Okay, now let's go to the next, that is drawing sheets. Why the drawing sheets are very important? Okay, whenever you want to draw any of the object, you have to draw it on the drawing sheet. Okay, totally there are five designations are there. Now let us understand one by one. The totally there are five types of drawing sheets are there: A0, A1, A2, A3, A4, and A5. A0 is having the dimensions 841 by 1189. A1 is having the dimensions 594 by 841. Similarly, A2 420 by 594, A3 297 by 420, A4 210 by 297. Among all these five types of drawing sheets, the students will prefer to use A2 drawing sheet, that is 420 by 594 drawing sheet. The next part is the scale. Why the scale is required? Whenever you want to draw an object on the drawing sheet, sometimes we will draw that object to the given size, sometimes we will draw that object to the reduced size, sometimes we will draw that object to the enlarged size, that is increase in size or reduce in size or to the same size. Okay, that's why the scale is important. Now let's understand the definition of the scale. What is scale? It is the ratio of linear dimension of an element, linear dimension of an element of an object. The meaning of that word or sentence is, dear students, whatever the object you are going to draw it on the drawing sheet, that is the linear dimension of an element of an object as represented in the drawing to the linear dimension of the same element of the object itself. Okay, depending upon the size, there are three types. One is known as a full scale, the second one is known as a reduced scale, the third one is known as a enlarged scale. Full scale is nothing but, dear students, you are going to draw the object as per the dimension. We will not change the dimension. Suppose if the object is having the dimension 100 mm, we will draw the object is equal to 100 mm on the drawing sheet. Suppose if it is having 20 mm means we will draw that into the 20 mm. Okay. Here you are going to see the full scale. Full scale is nothing but 1:1 scale. Reduced scale is nothing but 1:x. Here the x is very very important. X is going to play an important role in this scale. The value of x may be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, it may be 1,000. Depending upon the application, you will use the number. Suppose if the value of x is 2, the meaning of that one is 1:2. That is 1:2. The meaning of that 1:2 is nothing but, suppose if the given object is having the dimension 100 mm, we are going to draw it on the drawing sheet as reducing 50%. That is reducing the 2 times. That is, instead of drawing 100 mm, here you will draw that one as a 50 mm. Suppose if it is if the size of the object is, let us assume, if the size of the object is the 1:2 is nothing but, dear students, already I said that if the size of the object is 100 mm, we will draw that to 50 mm. Suppose if it is 1:4, if it is 1:4, if the object is having 100 mm, okay, we will draw that one on the drawing sheet as 25 mm. The next one is enlarged scale. As the name itself indicates, enlarged. Enlarged means big in size. X is to 1. Whatever may be the value of x, it may be 2, 3, 4, 5, like that. Suppose if the size of the object is, let us assume 20 mm, if it is 2:1 scale, then we will draw that one on the drawing sheet as double, that is 40 mm. If it is 50 mm, if the size of the object is 50 mm, we will draw that one onto the drawing sheet as a 100 mm. Similarly, if it is 3:1, if it is 3:1, you are going to multiply it by 3 times. If it is 10 mm, the actual dimension of the object is 10 mm, we will draw on the drawing sheet as that one 30 mm. So that's why the scale is very very important. That is full scale, reduced scale, and enlarged scale. Full scale is nothing but as it is no change in the dimension. Reduced scale is nothing but we will reduce the object dimensions. Enlarged scale is nothing but we are going to increase the size of the object on the drawing sheet. The next part is types of lines. Very very important. All the engineers should have the knowledge about the types of lines. Okay. Here I'm going to show you the table. The table is going to play an important role. Each and every engineer must aware of these types of lines. The first column is a line category. The second one is description. The third one is general application. The first one is continuous tick. When to be used this continuous ticks? Whenever we look the object, if it seems to our eyes, then the whatever object you know, that to be drawn by the continuous tick line. Okay, that is for the visible edges or the visible outlines. The next one is continuous thin. When to be used this one? The continuous thin line to be used when you want to draw the imaginary line or a projection line, dimension line, leader line, hatching lines, outlines of the revolved sections in place, short center lines. The next one is continuous thin freehand. The continuous thin freehand to be used, sometimes what is going to happen, we are unable to draw the object on the drawing sheet as per the dimensions. That is, for example, let us assume the size of the drawing sheet is 500 mm. If the size of the object is 1000 mm, we are not able to draw that onto the drawing sheet as per the dimensions. At that moment, we will break the object. I mean, continuity, we are going to break the continuity. That can be done with the help of a continuous thin freehand. That's why the application, when to be used this one. Limits of partial or interrupted views and sections if the limit is not in a chain thin. The next one is continuous thin with zigzags. The application of this is also similar to the previous one. This is to be used to break the long lines, long line break. The next one is dash tick. Uh, the dash tick is used when the object is invisible to our eyes. Any of the part of the object, if it is invisible to our eyes, at that moment you have to use a dash tick. That's why hidden outlines and the hidden edges. The next one is dash thin. The application of that is also similar to the previous one. That is hidden outlines and the hidden edges. Chain thin. The chain thin is used whenever especially in the solid objects, at the center of the object, as the object is symmetry, at the center we are going to see the axis line. That axis line is indicated or used with the help of what? A chain thin. That's why in the application we are going to see center line, lines of symmetry, trajectories. The next one is chain thin thick at ends and changes of direction. This is to be used when you want to cut the object, that is you have to use the cutting plane. That cutting plane is also known as a section plane. Whenever you want to show the cutting plane or section plane, this type of line to be used, that is chain thin thick and at ends and change of direction. Here you have to observe the starting and ending of the line is dark. The starting and ending of the line is dark, as well as when it changes the direction. The remaining time the line is thin. The line is dark starting, change of direction, and at the end. The rest of the time the line is thin. Similar to the G category, that is chain thin. The next one is chain thick. When to be used the chain thick? Whenever the surface is having ununiform surface, that is the surface is not uniform, at that moment you have to use this chain thick. Okay, I mean special treatment is given to that surface. Okay, the application says as indication of lines or surfaces to which a special requirement applies. The next category is chain thin double dash. Chain thin double dash. This is used for the outlines of adjacent parts, alternative or extreme position of moving parts, centroidal lines, initial outlines, prior to forming parts situated in front of the cutting plane. So this is a brief information about the types of lines. Let's move to the next one. The next one is conventional representation of the material. Why the conventional of the representation of the material is required? Being an engineer, we should have the knowledge about each and every material. Suppose what will happen, if you take any of the machine components or any building material, house construction, etc., etc., the machine will be made up of several materials. It may be made up of steel or wood or plastic, etc., etc. Whenever you want to construct any of the building or a house, it is made up of a door, it is made up of a windows, it is made up of a what do you say, marbles, etc., etc. The engineer should have the knowledge about that. That's why we added the topic. I mean, we are discussing about the topic, that is conventional representation of the materials. Okay, here is the table. Please go through the table. Now let us discuss about one by one. The first one is, dear students, metals. The next part is, I mean, there are three columns. The first column is the type. The second one is a convection. The third one is a material. Okay, the first one is a type, the second one is convection, the third one is a material. When the type is metal, the convection is a rectangle box with the hatching lines. When to be used? Suppose if the object or the component is made up of a steel, I mean the material is steel, or a cast iron, copper and its alloys, aluminum and its alloys, etc. Okay, whenever it is, if the material is made up of any one of this composition, at that moment you have to use the convection, the first one. The next one is this one, my dear students. This one. Okay, this is to be used when it is made up of a lead, I mean the material is lead, zinc, tin, white metal, etc. The next one is glass. Suppose if the object or the component is made up of glass, this kind of representation you have to use. You have to use what? This kind of representation I'm going to indicate by the heart symbol. Okay. Similarly, if it is made up of after manufacturing any of the component, you have to do the packing. You have to do what? Packing. Whenever it is packing to be used, okay, depending upon the material, I'm going to indicate by the star mark. This is to be used when the material is made up of porcelain, stoneware, marble, slate, etc. The next one is, if the material or a object is made of a, I'm going to indicate by the right symbol, asbestos, fiber, felt, synthetic, resin products. Similarly, if it is made of copper or a cork or a linoleum, rubber, leather, etc., etc., if it is made of this kind of material, you have to use this convention representation. Suppose, let us consider there is a pipe. In that pipe, the water is flowing or the liquid is flowing, or let it be petrol, whatever it is, that to be indicated by the liquid item convection. That is this one. I'm going to indicate by that one a diamond symbol. Here it is. Okay. Whenever you see any of the dotted line in the conventional representation, at that moment you have to understand the, it may be either water or a diesel or petroleum, etc. The next conventional representation is, dear students, if it is made up of any of the wood material, either wood or a plywood, etc. That is the, this one is the conventional representation of the, I'm going to indicate by the ellipse shape. Okay, here you are going to see now. So this is the wood or a plywood conventional representation. The last is concrete. The last one is the, dear students, concrete. That I'm going to indicate by the rectangle shape. I'm going to indicate by that one as a rectangle shape. It is a combination or a mixture of a cement, sand, and a gravel. So this is a brief idea or information about the uh, conventional representation of the material. Each and every engineer should have the knowledge about the conventional representation of the material. It is very, very important. The next one is conventional representation of the machine component. Being the mechanical engineer, we should have the knowledge about the conventional representation of the material. Okay, you take any of the machine will be having several parts in that. Okay, you have to know the convention of the several materials, several parts of the machine component. The first one is straight knurling. As the name itself indicates, straight knurling. So whenever in the, whenever if you ask draw the conventional representation of the straight knurling, means you have to draw this one. So this is known as a conventional representation of the knurling. I'm going to indicate by the right arrow mark. Okay, whatever the right arrow mark you are going to see on the screen, that is the conventional representation of the straight knurling. The next one is the diamond knurling. The name itself indicates it is a diamond knurling. Okay, the next one is the, dear students, diamond knurling. I'm going to denote that by the right symbol. Whatever the right symbol you are going to see now, so that is our water diamond knurling. There is a slight difference between our diamond knurling and straight knurling. The next one is external screw thread. How to indicate the screw thread? So this is our what, external screw thread. What do you mean by external screw thread? External screw thread is a thread. Let us consider a shaft or any round surface material. If you create the threads on the outer surface of the object, then that is known as the external screw threads. Suppose if you make the threads inside the object, then that is known as the internal screw threads. Okay, the external screw thread is denoted by the symbol into mark. I'm going to denote the internal screw thread by the heart symbol. Whatever heart symbol you are going to see, this is about internal screw thread. External screw thread is nothing but the threads are formed on the outer surface of the object. Internal screw threads means the threads are formed inside the object, internal surface of the object. The next one is semi-elliptical leaf spring. Okay, you can see the application of this one in the lorries or in the trucks. Okay, you can see the application of this one in the lorries or in the trucks. I'm going to denote it by the star mark. Okay, the next one is cylindrical compression spring and a cylindrical tension spring. Let us consider a spring. If you apply the force in the pulling direction, so then that is known as a tension spring. Suppose if the force are applied in the pushing direction, then that is known as a compression spring. I am going to denote the compression spring. Compression spring I am going to denote by the heart symbol. So this is the conventional representation of the compression spring. Compression is nothing but, my dear students, applying the force in the pushing direction. Okay, that is known as a compression spring. Okay, let us consider a spring. Just you apply the force in the opposite direction, that is your pushing direction, you are going to see the compression of the spring. Suppose instead of applying the force in the pushing direction, if you apply the force in the pulling direction, then that is known as a tension spring. I'm going to denote that by the arrow mark. So this is a conventional representation of the cylindrical tension spring. The next part is screw threads assembly. Screw thread assembly is nothing but combination of the internal and external threads. Just now we discussed about external and internal threads. Screw thread assembly is nothing but it is a combination of external and internal threads. The next part is splined shaft. The next one is a splined shaft. So this is our what a splined shaft. I'm going to denote that one by the ellipse shape. So this is our water splined shaft. This is known as our water splined shaft. The next category is interrupted views. The next one is the interrupted views. Interrupted views is nothing but there is a pipe which is having more distance. We have to break that one. Interrupt is nothing but, dear students, breaking the continuity or a series. Here you can see, here there is a circular object. I mean it may be pipe. The first one is a solid pipe. The second one is a hollow pipe. Okay. In the third column, you are going to see the interrupted views. Okay. The first one is a solid object. The second one is a hollow object. Here I'm going to denote that by the rectangle shape. Here I'm going to denote that by the rectangle shape. So this is the real object. When you show the convection, it seems that it looks like this. The next one is semi-elliptical spring. Already we discussed that one in the previous slide. The next part is about the gears. Okay, spur gear, bevel gear, worm wheel, and a worm. Okay, in the this is known as a convection. Okay, spur gear I'm going to denote it by the heart symbol. So this is our water spur gear convection. I'm going to denote the bevel gear convection by the right symbol. So this is the conventional representation for the bevel gear. So this is the conventional representation for the worm wheel, that is also denoted by the right mark. I'm going to denote the worm conventional representation by the heart symbol. Okay, whatever till now we discussed, all this belongs to the conventional representation of the machine components. All this belongs to what a conventional representation of the machine components. In the the next one is conventional representation of brakes. Let us consider a pipe or a solid object. Okay, if it is very long, we cannot draw it on the drawing sheets. At that moment, you have to break. When you break, you have to indicate by a certain symbol. That symbol is first one, that is known as a metal rod. That symbol is known as a what a metal rod. I'm going to denote that by the heart symbol. Whatever the heart symbol you are going to see, that is a conventional representation for a break of a metal rod. If it is a hollow pipe, that is known as a tube. That is denoted by some others. I'm going to denote it by the star symbol. I denoted that by the star symbol. If it is a metal bar, if it is having the section circular or in a rectangle in section. Okay, the previous two are a circular in section. The third one is rectangle or a square in section. If it is breaks, then that is denoted by one like this. That is, I am to make you understand, I indicated by the into mark. The next one is a wood. Okay, the wood breaks. How does it seems? That is represented in the last sketch. So this is the conventional representation of the breaks. The next one is section of solid. First, let us understand what you mean by solid. Solid is nothing but the object which is having the three dimensions. What are the three dimensions? Length, breadth, and a thickness. The object is having the three dimension like length, breadth, and thickness is known as a solid. What do you mean by section? Sometimes what will happen, if you take any of the solid object, uh, when you look from one direction, the outer surface we can see, but we cannot see the inner surface. The inner surface will be having so many dotted lines. Sometimes it is going to become very complicated to do all the dotted lines on the drawing sheets in any one of the view. Either it may be in the front view or in the top view or in the side view. To overcome all this, you have to do the sectioning. Section is nothing but we are going to cut the object with the help of plane. That plane is known as a section plane or a cutting plane. We are going to call that one as a cutting plane or a section plane. That's why now see the definition. What do you mean by section of solid? Sometimes the objects are so complicated. When the object becomes so complicated, if the object is having n number of dotted lines in it, okay, if the object is having n number of dotted lines in that, the object becomes very complicated. Okay, we cannot visualize them. We cannot see the inner lines. At that moment, they become very complicated. To overcome or to eliminate those, to overcome or to eliminate them, you have to do the what a section. Okay, the plane or the device with the help of that will cut the object, then that is known as a section plane. The action of cutting is called as a section. The plane which is used for cutting the object is known as a section plane. Types of cutting planes and the representation. The cutting plane is represented by the cutting line. The cutting plane indicates the line view of the cutting plane. Okay. The next one is the cutting plane is or the section plane is indicated by the two arrowheads. The cutting plane or the section plane is denoted by the two arrowheads. The direction of the arrow indicates the direction of the viewing the object. This is very, very important. The direction of the arrow indicates the direction of viewing the object. Cutting plane lines. Whatever the cutting plane lines you are going to see, the starting and ending must be dark. The rest middle part of the line must be thin. The starting and ending part of the cutting plane must be dark. The middle part is thin. That belongs to the chin thin category. So these are the cutting plane examples. In the first sketch, you can see the starting and ending are dark. The middle part is thin. That is denoted by the alphabet S. Sorry, A. You can use some other alphabets. If there is no restriction to use always only the alphabets A, you can go for the alphabet S also. Okay. You can see the second sketch. In the first sketch, the section plane is, cutting plane is horizontal, but in the second sketch, we're going to see the inclination. The starting is, my dear students, here you can observe, here the section, this is the start of the section plane, hence it is dark, but as the time goes on, it moves in the direction. Here there is a change of direction. Here you can see observe, or you can see, or you can observe here. Here there is a change of direction. When there is a change of direction, the line must be dark. Once again, the rest of the part is thin. Once again, here there is a change of direction. You can observe clearly here. Once again, here there is a change of direction. The line becomes dark, and this is the ending of the section plane or a cutting plane. Similarly, the third and the fourth one. Cutting plane. Why the cutting plane is required? The cutting plane or a section plane. It gives all the internal features of the object, whatever may be the object. It gives all the internal features of the object. Okay, that's why you have to cut the object with the help of a device that is known as a cutting plane. You can observe the sketch here. This is the given object. I'm going to denote it by the right symbol. Sorry, arrow mark. I'm going to denote it by the arrow mark. Dear students, so this is the given object for us. This is the given object for us. Now what do we do here? With the help of the cutting plane or section plane, we will cut the object. We will cut the object. As a result of that, As a result of that, we will get the two parts. As a result of that, dear students, we will get what are two parts. This is known as, my dear students, the cutting plane. This is known as our cutting plane line. This is known as our cutting plane. So this is the cutting plane line you can observe in the second sketch. Here you can observe, here there is object. Okay, this is the object. I'm going to denote that by the, so this is our given object. With the help of a cutting plane or a section plane, we will cut the object. This is known as our water cutting plane. I'm going to denote it by the arrow mark. So this is our water section plane or a cutting plane. Once object is cut, we will get the two parts. One part is known as a removed part, other part is known as a retained part. For the retained part, we will go for the, we do the hatching, that is known as a section. Okay, so this part is known as a, I'm going to denote the retained part by the double arrow mark. So I'm going to give the text for that. So this is our retained part. This is our what? Retained part. This is known as, dear students, our retained part. This is known as our retained part. This is known as our retained part. Okay, this is about what a hatching, sectioning with the help of a cutting plane. The next one is how to do the hatching. After cutting the object, we have to go for a hatching. Okay, the hatching to be done with the help of a distance 2 mm, with the help of a distance 2 mm, and the angle is 45 degree or a 135 degree. The angle is either 45 degree or a 135 degree. The angle may be either 45 degree or a 135 degree, but the gap must be either 2 mm or a 3 mm. On which surface the hatching or the section to be done? Which part to be cut? On that surface you have to go for the hatching. So here you can observe. Okay, here you are going to see the three figures, figure A, figure B, figure C. Figure A is incorrect, figure B is also incorrect, but the figure C is correct. Because what is happening in the figure A, I'm going to denote it by the into mark. Whatever the into mark you are going to see on the sketch, they are wrong. Whatever the right symbol you are going to see, that is correct. In the figure A and figure B, both are incorrect because in the figure A, the gap is not uniform. The distance is not uniform. The distance is not 2 or 3 mm. It is having more than 3 mm. But in case of figure B, the gap is very less between each and every line. Okay, it may be less than 1 mm or 1 mm. But in the figure C, you observe the angle is 45 degree. The uniform distance is available, that is 2 mm. Hence, whenever you go for hatching, okay, you have to do the hatching in this angle. In this manner. Then the types of sections. Totally, there are 6 types of sections are there. Full section, half section, broken out section, revolved section, offset section, removed sections. Okay, full section, half section, broken out section, revolved section, offset section, and the last one is the removed section.